Now you want to select a brush. When you click on your brush, you get your brush selections up here, and if you do the drop down, you see that I have default brushes selected, and it gives me lots of choices. For this technique, you want a hard-edged brush, not something that looks diffused on the edges like that. And I'm going to click number 19, which is the largest one in my palette. And when I come back over here, and I click on this, look what happens. That red from my background shows through, because I've just put black on there, but it's not really black. It's just removed the white layer. But that's awfully small, so let's use our brackets. And I'm going to use my right bracket and keep hitting it till I have a fairly large area. And now I can paint with that, and look what happens. And look over here in your hue saturation layer. You can see where I've painted with black, and it shows the color. Now I need to go down a little bit smaller so I can get closer to these edges, and do as much as you can with your larger brush, and then we'll go back in and fine tune it. So again, you can see your progress over here. Now remember, we're going to zoom in with our magnifying glass, and you want to zoom in a fair amount. So let's start with this corner, and look how far that zooms in. Now I go back to my brush, and that's way too big for what I want to do, so I dial it down using my left bracket. And now I can get right up to that edge, and what looks like it's black is really navy, so I want to get right up to that corner and adjust my brush as I go. And just take your time. I'm going a little fast for purposes of the tutorial, but just take your time, make sure you don't miss any spots, go all the way around the edge. And I don't know if you can hear it on my on the audio, but I'm doing short little strokes and then letting up and doing another short little stroke. That's because if I do that, I can hit my undo button up here, and I can undo just a little at a time if I just messed up part of it, but not all of it. Now look, when I went over this, the little part of this clear holder here, it colorized that, and I don't really want that colorized. I want it to look like the rest of it down here. So now I can go back, switch these, and go back to white, and wherever I paint in white, it removes the color, so it makes it black and white again. So now I go back to black, I've fixed that, and I just continue with my painting here. And let's make that a little bigger. And I went over that holder, but I'm going to go back to that in a minute with my white. Let's go ahead and do that. And oops. Well, now I did it a little too much, but we'll fix it with our black. Go smaller. And you would take your time and do a little bit better job here, but you get the idea. And eventually you're going to have the whole card colorized just the way you want it, and when you zoom out, it's going to look really awesome. So let me just quick finish up here, and now I'm going to scroll out using my mouse roller, and there you go. And now I've got a photograph that easily or obviously highlights just the red card. And again, let me show you that trick with the white. Let's say I colored this by accident, or maybe I want to color the bee, but let's say I colored that by accident. I go back over here, flip to my white, and it erases the color. So that's basically it. Now all you have to do is, you don't even have to combine these layers. All you have to do is go save as. It's going to save just this layer the way it looks. So let's go to File, Save As. Again, don't do save, because you want to maintain the picture the way it is. And I'm going to choose JPEG, and it's going to automatically name it copy for me. You could call it ColourPop version, whatever you want to call it. Put your copyright and your name in there. But whatever you do, just make sure you do save as and not save. Click Save. Click your quality. If you're posting to the web, medium quality, I usually use about 7 is good. You don't want it to be a really large file and slow down your pages from loading. So that is basically the basics of the technique. But I want to show you one more thing. Let's look at this picture of a butterfly that I've already done the same way, but I have the saturation dialed back up. And you can see when I dialed it back down and took out all the black and white, what it did. But once I did that, I didn't like it as much as I thought I was going to. I thought that the butterfly it was too dull. There wasn't enough color in it. So you can dial the saturation back up. This was the original photograph. And I thought that the brightness of the green just kind of took away from the butterfly a little too much. I wanted that butterfly to be the focal point. So let's dial our saturation down just part way and just play with it. And there, it looks pretty good. It's still green. You can still see the greenery and tell what they are and tell that, you know, they were, it was summertime and everything was in bloom. You can see a little bit of the flowers behind it. But that butterfly pops out much more now. So just play with your saturation level. And you might even want to play with your lightness and darkness. That's obviously not good, but you might want to dial it down a little bit. If it was too bright, if say you used a flash and it was just too bright, you can dial that down. And just play with these levels. The hue is going to actually change the coloring. And you can play with that, and that gives you kind of a cool effect, because now you're working on two separate layers. Essentially your butterfly is on a different layer than your background. So if you want blue leaves, you can make blue leaves. So have fun with it and just play around with it. And remember, the default on all three of these is 0. If you want to go back to the original, you can do that. But just play with it. You might be surprised at some of the effects that you come up with. And always remember, once you've created a beautiful work of art like this, if you're going to post it to the web, put your watermark on it. If you missed that video tutorial, go back to my website at crazyforcrafting.blogspot.com and you'll find it there. There's 2 different methods for watermarking your photographs. Have fun, and as always, if you create something that you're really proud of, I would love to see it. So please get in touch with me. Thanks. Good night.